This episode of Talk the Talk was recorded before a live audience at the Disrupted Festival at the State Library of Western Australia on the 30th of July, 2017. Hello and good morning, everybody. How we doing? Hey! Is everyone caffeinated up? Welcome, hello, and to the Disrupted Festival. Thanks for coming to this super live edition of Talk the Talk, RTRFM's weekly show about linguistics, the science of language. Today we're going to be talking about language maintenance, language revival, and we're going to hear some kickin' tunes. Maybe we'll even hear from you. I'd like to bring out the members of our team. It's the wearer of jerseys, it's the skeptic extraordinaire, it's the secret genius behind the show, it's Kylie Sturgis.
Thank you very much, Daniel. And of course, Talk the Talk wouldn't be Talk the Talk if it wasn't for our master of mirth, the mischief behind the microphone, Ben Ainsley.
And it falls to me to introduce the coattail rider, the man who does no real effort and is in no way essential to the creation of the show in any way, the linguist, Daniel Midgley.
Nearly timed that perfectly.
Just about.
Wow.
You guys feeling good?
It's weird. Where's our red walls? Where's our a little tiny studio at RTRFM over in Mount Lawley? This is a bit bizarre.
I'm not used to working in big spaces.
Yeah, we're accountable. I'm not comfortable with that.
We're just going to have to work harder than usual, I guess, and give it a shot.
Fill the space with energy.
Okay, let's do it.
First of all, we would like to acknowledge that we are on Aboriginal land, specifically that of the Whadjuk clan of the Noongar people, and we want to pay respect to the traditional owners of country, both in Perth and throughout Australia. All right. You guys ready to begin?
Yes, let's do it.
Absolutely. Do we need to? Are we covering what's going on in the world of linguistics, or Daniel, is there something fresh, something different, something a little bit cooler in store?
I thought maybe we could try a game that you could play, one of the famous competitions that you love so much.
Oh,
yes.
God. Here we go again.
Who's on team Ben? Ben.
Thank you. Thank you.
Fine.
Room full of my people. Thank you.
I don't need your help. I'll win anyway.
But this is one that you can play as well. I want to hear from you. So we're going to play a round of fact or fiction.
Okay.
Using news stories and language from the 4 or 5 or so weeks gone by.
Ooh,
I'm going to give a detail from a linguistic news story. You're going to tell me which ones are real and which ones are the fiction.
Okay.
Number 1. A student has used a computer and software to confirm that I before E except after C, despite what you may have heard, is actually a very good rule for English spelling. Fact or fiction? I before E except after C. It's actually a pretty good rule for English spelling.
All right, I'll come out of the gate on this one. I'm going to say, I'm going to be really annoying and say kind of half and half. I think a person did do that. But I don't think the conclusion that they reached was very good. So I'm going to say false.
Okay, this is fiction.
Overarchingly false.
Okay.
I'm going to say that it's true, that they probably had a look at everything and thought, it kind of balances out as a decent enough rule in English.
Okay, what does the audience say? Who says fact by noise? Fiction?
Ooh.
Oh, it's about half and half.
I think there was slightly more fact to that one. There was more verdant clapping to fact.
Okay. It's fiction.
Oh, damn. I'm down one.
Now, this rule first entered textbooks around 1855, but Nathan Cunningham, a PhD student studying statistics, took a look at 350,000 English words, found that I does come before E about 75% of the time.
Oh.
But when you add in a C and account for that, it doesn't actually change at all. It's just exactly the same.
C is a lie.
C is a lie.
C is a lie.
There are lots of letters that are better. For example, F is more predictive. You could say I before E except after F.
That doesn't roll off the tongue at all, though.
No, it doesn't rhyme, does it?
Awful.
No. That must be why.
Do you think that this person just had this long-held resentment after years and years of primary schooling and thought, right, that's it, I'm going to do a frickin' PhD in this. I'm going to master in statistics. I'm going to prove you wrong,
Kylie,
Mrs.
as a person who's doing a PhD, are you perhaps transferring a little bit of...
Everything I do is absolutely fueled by rage, I assure
great.
you.
I tried to warn you. I said don't do it. It's awful.
No, just really quickly.
Yeah.
Can we just Ben's on one, Kylie's on how many again?
That would be,
I had more letters after my name than in my name, so yeah. Let's
still
just
out of the
leave
gate.
it like
She knows her letters.
You're on 0.
I'm not done. I'm not done.
Okay.
T is also good.
T?
I before E except after T, as in Stein, or even W as in weird. One big problem is that Cunningham's analysis didn't include the sounds, because you've
yes.
heard the rest of the thing, right?
Yeah.
Who knows the rest of the thing? I before E except after C. Except in long A, like neighbor and way, right? Didn't examine
That
the sounds.
also doesn't roll off the tongue. It's just no good.
So, all right, we're on 1 for Ben and 0 for everybody else. Number 2, an artificial intelligence system developed at Facebook created its own language to communicate in and had to be shut down.
I reckon this is 100% true because anything that makes it look like the robocalypse is around the corner, I am on board with. So I think this is true.
I think it sounds really sad, so yeah, it must be true. They went, oh no, you can't do that.
Why do you hate me, creator? Boo.
Who says fact?
Oh, wow.
Who says fiction?
Oh, no, that's fact.
Let's give it a shot, yeah.
Everybody wins. This is a fact. But it's not as weird as it sounds. What they did was they had some negotiation software that they had trained to speak in natural language or to communicate. Negotiation software is like, if you are trying to make a deal, you've got to figure out if they'll like your offer or what they'll come back with. And if you can predict that using software, then that makes your job easier. All right, well, they had 2 of these agents just doing loads and loads of simulations, and they started not using English because they forgot to specify that you have to use English.
Oh.
Which means that the programmers couldn't read what they were doing anymore.
I told you, man, the robocalypse. For real.
We don't need these humans in your puny language.
Because clearly the robots were just like chatting with each other, and one of them turned to the other and kind of went, have you noticed how this dumb human language is just slowing us down? And the other one went, yeah. Let's get rid of that then.
Maybe it's like the negotiation software knew that it was going to be turned off, so they said, look, I'll make you a deal. Is there a worse task to give robots that are going to be in the robopocalypse than negotiation? Oh my gosh, that's really scary.
A worse task.
So they stopped the program. That was really all there was. All right, so 2 for Ben, 1 for everybody else. Here's number 3. These Australian slang terms for the $100 note have recently been added to the Macquarie Dictionary's watch list for possible inclusion in future. Here they are.
Dollary doos, dollary doos.
Dollary do, well, I think that might have been, well, let's just see. The avocado, the jolly green giant, the moldy oldie, and the green tree frog. Fact or fiction? Macquarie is watching out for these terms. Kylie, I'm going to you first.
I'm thinking false because I don't know. I think I've heard of the first one, but not the others. I mean, what the tree frog? What? Here, have a tree frog. No.
I'm going to go fact just because I've heard people refer to the fiddy as a pineapple. So I'm thinking based on avocado alone, I'm on board.
Okay, audience, who says fact? Okay. Who says fiction?
Oh, yeah, that's a firm false.
This one is fiction.
Yeah!
Come on.
All of these items were actually deleted from the Wikipedia page on slang terms for money after a viral tweet pointed out that they were all just made up.
Oh.
Did someone give Trent from Punchy like a Wikipedia edit account, and he was just like, I got heaps of names for the 100, like avocado.
Tree frog.
They did have a lot. There were a lot of other fictional items on the list. There was the Kermit, the Green Phantom, the 10,000 centa.
I want that one back.
I know, right?
That's good, yeah.
And the most worthy rectangle.
The most.
Please lay upon me one of your most worthy rectangles.
For a dialect of English that sort of prides itself on dropping every single letter it can in any context, that's just way too many letters.
All right, so what's our score now?
2 apiece.
Well, I think we're equal now.
Oh, I think we are. Okay, well, I got 2 more of these. So here's number 4.
Here we go.
The last word in the Oxford English Dictionary has changed. It's now Ziziva. Z-Y-Z-Z-Y-V-A. Ziziva. Fact or fiction?
Oh. I want Kylie to go first.
How about if I just pump for fact? I don't even know what it means.
Okay.
No. Fiction.
There we go.
Audience, fact.
Fact or
Who says
fiction?
fact?
Zizifa.
Who says
like-
fiction?
Ooh.
Getting a little bit of fiction
I think that was a
thing
fiction,
going on
yeah.
there. This one's a fact.
No, come on.
But does anybody
See,
know what it is? Who are the Scrabble players among us who have used
Scrabble?
Ziziva? If you can drop 3 Zs in one word. No guesses? Who's a good balderdash player who could make a plausible guess?
Now you're in my wheelhouse.
Okay. Ben, what's a Ziziva?
Zizivar is the multi-layered strata that builds up on the bottom of basalt sea floors, and the boundary layer between the strata are individual zizifer.
I also hear that it's you see it in Black Forest cake as well.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
A kind of
It's,
anachronism from the
You
geological
haven't
term.
got
Yep.
enough zizifer in the black. You need to have more layers. The jam and
No, not enough discrete zizification.
no,
Yeah, absolutely.
no.
Yeah.
It's just plain mud cake. I mean, what the are you doing? You know.
All right, you guys, it's actually a kind of beetle in South America that lives in palm trees, which is exactly
I
the
don't
kind
want
of
that
thing
in
you would-
cake.
I
No.
like my one
I
better.
like yours better. Yeah, the South African beetle is what I always say. The old word was zithum, an ancient Egyptian malt beer. Also added to the Oxford Dictionary, woke, in their quarterly update.
Yes.
And come to Jesus, as in a come to Jesus moment.
Interesting.
Okay, so what's our score?
Might be 3 place 2. I don't know. I'm not.
Something
Who
like that, whatever.
scores don't matter. Yeah.
Okay, don't give up. Don't
Unless
give up.
I'm winning.
Don't give up. You got another chance.
Last one. An analysis of 100 million tweets reveals that the pistol emoji is most often pointing at face with tears of joy. The pistol emoji is most often pointing at face with tears of joy. Okay.
Face with ooh.
Fact or fiction?
I'm gonna say fact.
Okay.
I'm gonna go fact. I think that's probably a little sort of symbolic vocal unit thing that kind of represents like, oh my god, it was so crazy, you wouldn't even believe it.
Okay.
I'm going to go for fiction because what?
Okay. Why would you shoot a face with tears of joy?
Yeah. What?
Audience, who says fact? Okay, lots of us.
Okay.
How about fiction?
Ooh, that's fitty.
damn, I can't
That's
even
half.
tell.
Yeah.
Okay, it is a fact. Very good.
Tiebreaker.
I haven't got one, but maybe we'll come up with one later in
All
the
right,
show.
fine.
We'll fight it out after, or maybe
Yes.
next episode. Yeah.
Jane Solomon of dictionary.com did the work and supposes that it means something like just shoot me. So, you now know your linguistic fact from your linguistic fiction. Anybody was awesome and just got them all? Who blitzed it?
Well done, baby, at the back.
It figures that is Daniel's infant, just quietly.
Well,
Shall we take a track?
yes, I thought we could. We're talking about I before E except after C, so let's play the Mosquito Coast with Let's Be Friends on RTR FM 92.1. Feel free to dance in the aisles if you like. You're here with Talk the Talk at the Disrupted Festival.
Live.
Yeah.
Yes. You having fun?
We're having great fun. I'd like to point out our amazing sign language interpreters, the Auslan folk here. Here we are. This is how you applaud in Auslan. They even tag teamed out in the way that we wanted them to, pro wrestling style. So thank you very much for that.
You can catch them later in the week at Explosive Perth Wrestling. That'll be
Just cheer them on.
We would like to invite a very special guest on the stage. This is Dalisa Pigram. Come on up. Thank you. Come on over. Tell us about yourself, Dalisa.
Yeah.
I'm from Broome, Western Australia, up the top of up north there, and I come from a large family, local family. I have 4 children. I teach Yawuru language, the language of my people that come from that area, in Broome at a local school. Also participate in a strong team of people trying to revive our language. And I'm also a co-artistic director and performing artist with Maragaku Dance Theatre Company. And we travel around the world and the country and to remote places with our dance theatre work.
We're big fans and big supporters of Australian languages and minority languages. How long have you been teaching Yawuru?
I've been involved in the Yawuru language program at Cable Beach Primary School for 14 years. I was lucky enough to learn from an elder called Doris Edgar, one of our last remaining fluent speakers. She passed away 4 years ago. And I was part of a team, so there was the model that we had, a bit like a master apprentice program where I learnt from the elder as much language as I could, and then at the same time learning from a mentor, qualified language teacher who was teaching me how to teach and facilitate those lessons within a school setting. Being a dancer, that was all sort of new stuff to me. So it was like, okay, absorb as much as I can from the elder, cruise around looking at different trees, do your research, listen and soak in as much as she would give. Obviously, you can't just go up to the elder and say, okay, teach me the language. Off you go, start doing your job.
Go.
There's that trust, building trust and transparency, and make sure that, she could see that I was coming from a genuine position in helping our language. And I'm Yawuru, so Yawuru Badi woman from up that way, so I have connection to a place further up north on the Dampier Peninsula called One Arm Point, or Ariolan. But also born and raised in Broome, so connected with my Yawuru family a lot too. So when approached, you're a young Yawuru person, would you like this opportunity to learn your language? Of course, there's no other answer but of course.
Yeah.
And then that responsibility of, doing a good job of trying to learn as fast as you can. I grew up with some language, but unfortunately, due to past policies, that was interrupted or disrupted.
Can I ask you there? I kind of wanted to bring that up. A lot of the people who might listen to us online, or even some of the people in the room, I find it constantly surprising, because we talk about minority languages a lot on the program, and we talk about all of the efforts to try and revitalise them. But I'm always astounded at the level of not knowledge, if that makes sense, that people have around why so much language has been lost. Did you want to discuss a little bit of how that situation has actually developed?
Yeah, well, speaking from the place where I've born and bred, the past policies, so we were exempt from the White Australia policy in Broome because of the pearling industry, so we had other minority groups that are now minority in this country, Asian, Malay, Filipino, Indonesian, Chinese, Japanese people come to be divers within our town and within the industry, which intermarried with the Aboriginal people. So we, hence the look, we're all a bit mixed breed mob up that way. But growing up where you're connected to your Indigenous culture, the place, the land where you put your feet on the reef and the floor ground, that's where you're grounded. Listening to the old people speak about, we wasn't allowed to speak language, if they taught, like my great grandmother was a fluent speaker of Yawuru, she chose not to speak Yawuru to her children, including my grandmother, for fear of being taken. You're going to be taken away to be taught the whitefellow way, so that you can assimilate well into the new way of living. You can imagine how damaging that was. Oh, yeah. Just in that. Then taking them literally from the place that the language is connected to a whole, you had river people shifted to seaside places like Biggle Bay up the peninsula, up in Broome, so that a lot of people that grew up that were shifted during the stolen generation and times like that were shifted to places like Biggle Bay onto missions where they were taught, how to iron and how to keep a house clean and, all the domestic duties, so that they could be dispersed into the, white pearling masters' houses and whatever. Forbidden to speak language. Don't talk that mumbo-jumbo.
And when you say forbidden, like, you're talking about, like, corrective measures were in place. Like, if you used language, they would beat you.
Yeah. And the repercussions of that, like my dad's generation, he often, when we speak, sometimes, with my family, I might speak Aboriginal English, which we might touch on later, but which is a more comfortable way to speak because that's how you relate to your family. And even my dad, from those sort of discipline actions is like, don't bloody speak properly, you know, like you better speak English properly, you know, because the fear of
trauma lasts.
And that knee-jerk, the reaction of that's what was done to them. Speak properly, don't speak that mumbo-jumbo, you know.
And just quickly, on the idea of moving peoples from where they were to wherever the white people wanted them to be, you mentioned when you went to learn Yawuru from your elder before she passed on, that you had to go out, you had to go walk and look at the land. So it's I get the idea that there's like an indelible link between the place where that language came from and that world. So if you take them out of that world, you don't have that river world where you can go, this is our word for this is our word for this is our word for this, because now you're on reef or now you're in the desert.
Yeah. And that elder that I learnt from, she was lucky she didn't... was lucky enough to... Well, she grew up on a station. She grew up in the bush, really. She didn't have a birth date. Like, to explain to the students that I teach, this elder sitting near me doesn't know her birthday. We can't sing happy birthday to her on the day that she was born, because she was born under a tree in the bush. Her school, she didn't go to school. She can't read and write, but she's one of the smartest people that you'll ever meet, the most knowledgeable person you'll ever meet, because she knows the seasons, she knows how this country works, she knows where to find water if you know, where you can't physically see it. She knows what animals to eat in the right time of the year. She could survive if she was stuck in the middle of the bush, you know. She got the proper way of learning.
So what's it like teaching this language to a new generation? It must be absolutely fascinating.
It was great to have a foot into that perspective from the elder, like literally driving around town, hopping out, walking into the bush and saying, this tree, we used to use them for bush medicine, and then she'd tell you the story, and a lot of the things awaken knowledge that you already knew. Like my father would teach me the similar things when I grew up, but it was like, reassuring, so that was a Yawuru word. I knew that from way back when I was little, because you don't get taught this is a Yawuru word and this is a Bardi word and you just learn what it is. And then to start analysing, this is this language, that's that language, that's why we use... so driving around with that perspective and seeing through her eyes, like we'd look often out across the bay and she'd say, before there'd be a huge sand dune there, but they knocked it over and they put that big tank there and there's this there, and, you know, so... Like, I've always known the tank and the this and the that, but she's known a whole different picture. And to see country like that and then be able to try and share that perspective with the young people, the next generation, so that they are aware that there was this other life. You know, there is this other knowledge that lives in our elders that we need to know about.
I very much get the impressions tied in with the environment. You're learning a lot about environmentalism at the same time.
Yes, and I mean, it's really important at this time where we are now. I mean, climate change and things like, you know, the knowledge systems that have been embedded for generations are very important at this time. To speak to our elders, they've been tracking things for a long time. They've known them 7,500 year old tide marks where you see fossils of shells and that on Roebuck Plains where, you know, now cattle roam and eat grass. You know, they knew those things from learning about them through that oral, passing on of knowledge.
How are the revitalization efforts going? Are the kids picking it up?
Yeah, I mean, in one sense, you teach in a school setting. You have an hour a week with the senior students, so you have half an hour a week with the juniors or the pre-primaries and the little ones.
It's not much, though, is it?
No.
I'm a teacher. An hour a week is like usually the stuff where you kind of go, oh, wait, where was I again?
Yes.
What are we doing?
Or you have to practice. Half of the lesson is like that repetitious stuff to make sure that they're going to... You can move on that little bit. It's like bit by bit by bit. But I'm lucky enough to work in a school that values our Yawuru language and culture, so we embed it in the school system so that you hear announcements. The student counsellors, for instance, you know, greet everyone in the morning and they say who's on duty. All the blocks in our school are named after the 6 Yawuru seasons. Their factions are named after animals within the Yawuru language. They, you know, so the need to use language is already in there.
Yeah, it's part of the school culture.
Yeah, it's part of the school culture, but it hasn't always been like that. It's been a long road to earn that respect from the naysayers. Or, you know, at the beginning, the program was a bit more like, oh, put all the humbug kids in that class, right. And they can go learn language, you know. And so now it's much more. We've fought long and hard to get that respect and go, hang on, this will benefit everyone, non-Indigenous, Indigenous kids, everyone that lives in Broome. If you know about that local culture from those perspectives, and you can use that language, you awaken that spirit of country, and you'll be taken care of in country too, like our way, you know.
Was there ever like a aha moment in terms of trying to garner that respect from people? Because obviously you're straight out of the gate, you're sitting there going, you guys don't understand, this is such the key that could unlock so much stuff. At what point did that understanding on your part begin to genuinely transfer over to people who had the power to make some of those changes?
I think seeing the leaders in the school, so the admin, you know, lead from the top, when they start going, hang on, there's potential for this, or for them to come to ask me, you know, maybe we should rename the blocks from Pearling Luggers, which was great, but they didn't actually really do anything with that information, from El Dorado and Nautilus to Bargana and Wilburu and Wirralburu, and, you know. And then you had the teachers that were like, oh, how are we supposed to get our tongue around that, you know? And I'm like,
you learn it like everybody else. Yeah.
What do you mean? Are you trying to say teachers are curmudgeonly old farts? That doesn't sound like my profession at all.
Oh, they can say it perfectly now, but they just, at the beginning, it was just like, you know.
But that's going to take me at least half an hour of like trying to figure it out. And I've got The Bachelor to watch, so.
Yeah.
Well, we've been talking a bit about the Yawuru language. We should take a break and have a track. And then I want to actually take a look at this language, and maybe would you teach us a bit?
Sure.
If that's okay.
Can I also put the call out to the audience? We're going to be asking you guys and girls some questions later on. So anything that you've got kicking around in your brain, try and hold on to it so that you can ask us later on.
Yeah. So let's listen to one by the Pegram Brothers. Who are these guys?
So they're my uncles. My father is a Pegram. He says he's the only Pegram that's not a Pegram brother. He said he would have been the drummer, but I came along, so he had to stay home and couldn't have that touring life of an artist. But yeah, he said he plays the fool. That's about what he plays.
Cool.
This is the Pegram Brothers with Easy on RTR FM 92.1. The Pegram Brothers with Easy on RTR FM 92.1, where you're here with the Talk the Talk team at Talk the Talk Live at the Disruptive Festival. How's it going, everybody? Having a good time? We're here with our special guest, Dalisa Pigram, having a great old chat about Yawuru, the Yawuru language, and the teaching thereof. And I guess now it's time to get into it. You ready? Going to show us some stuff?
Just really quickly, I wanted to acknowledge how, like, you always know, I've found with Talk the Talk, you always know when you have a really interesting guest, when you turn the mics off and then you immediately turn to your guest and just continue having the same conversation. You're like, oh, but I keep wanting to talk about more stuff. So that is definitely happening right now.
Glad
if you are cut. If you're tweeting this, be sure to use the hashtag Disrupted17. All right, so let's throw some slides up here and see what we got. Okay. We need some help with the pronunciation. We can't see very well.
No problem. Well, firstly, just out of respect, I'd just like to also acknowledge the Noongar Nation and the Wajak mob for allowing me to speak my Nganga on their country. I'm very privileged to be here and share my language with you. This says Mabungura Garing, which means good morning. So if we broke it down, we could say Mabu.
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 Ngura Garing.
Ngura Garing.
Ngura Garing.
No, that's a at the beginning of that second word, isn't it? We don't usually do that in English.
That's right. You see it a lot at the end of words like song and whatnot, long, but at the start very regularly in Yawuru. So that's good morning. And then we have below that is sort of how we greet one another. Singular version, if it's just me and Ben greeting one another, we can say Ngaji Mingan.
Nyangi Mingan.
I'm not going to look. I'm going to try and look at you because that's respectful.
Yeah.
Nyangi Mingan.
Good try. Ngaji.
Nyaji.
Ngaji.
Nyaji.
Mingan.
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 Ngaji Mingan.
Nyaji Mingan.
And that's like literally saying how you are or how are you.
Right,
wow,
you
because
move those word orders around a little bit.
I know that in some Australian languages, you don't say a question like "How are you?" You would say something like "Where are you going?" or something like that. But that's not the case here.
No, you can actually ask, like ngaji is like saying how.
Oh,
Yep,
right.
yep.
Okay, cool.
And the plural version of that, so if I'm greeting all of you, so in my classroom I'd say ngaji gorjan, which is like saying how are you all. So if you'd like to say that to everyone else, you can say ngaji
Nyanji.
gorjan.
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 Oh wow, you can roll your tongue, that's great.
It's a R, isn't it? Yeah.
It's, often I say to some of the actual adult teachers in the school, they really want to try hard, and the roll of the tongue's always a challenge, but I always try and say, you know, like when Scottish people say rake, they then get it, so somehow. So let's try that one again. Let's say, turn to someone near you and say, ngaji mingan.
Ngaji Mingan.
Ngaji mingan.
All right.
Nyaji Mingan.
And now turn to everyone and say, ngaji gurjan.
Nyaji Gurjin.
Mabujano. That means well done. And to answer that, if you're feeling well, you can say gala mabu ngangan. So if you say gala,
Gala.
mabu,
Mabu.
ngangan,
Nangan.
ngangan,
Nangan.
ngangan.
Nangan.
So it's got the ng at the start, in the middle, and then to finish it, you've got that n sound, which is an extra challenge. Ngangan.
There's something really special about learning languages that just forces you to feel really dumb as you just sit there going, nyangan, nyangan.
But it's great that you have a go.
Yeah,
Like,
oh
you
yeah,
know,
it's really
so-
fun.
So then we got wanji ngananga brajuyu. It's like saying I'll see you later, or later I will see you. So if you say wanji
Wanji.
ngananga
Nanangabra.
ngananga
Nanangabra.
ngananga
Nanangabra.
ngananga
Nanangabra.
Maavajano. And juyu.
Juyu.
So if you all go to yourself, say ngayu,
Nayu.
juyu,
Juyu.
Juju.
me, you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah?
Nayu Juyu.
Wanji ngananga juyu.
Wanji Nanangabra Juyu.
That's saying I'll see you later.
Laters.
And an easier way to say bye for now is galia.
Galia.
And that's a fun one in my classroom, because at the end the kids love saying galia Miss Dalia. Because it rhymes with my name. So galia Miss Dalia, and you see them down the street and you say ngaji mingan, and they say gala mabongangan, and then we go galia, and I say galia babagara, and they say galia Miss Dalia.
Fantastic.
Rhyming really doesn't ever stop being fun, does it?
No, they love it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
now we're going to break it down a little bit here. What do we got going
So
on now?
this is another question. So it's like asking, in a way, this was more like what the elders would use to greet one another. It's like finding out where you've just come from or where you're actually from. So in the first instance of meeting someone, you'd ask them, Jana Gabo Mimbolan. And it's like saying, where from you come, or where are you from? So if you can say Jana Gabu,
Jana Gabu.
Jana meaning where, and that Gabu suffix is saying from. So Jana Gabu.
Jana Gabu.
There's actually a really interesting like snap-on and snap-off case system where you just got lots of suffixes.
Yeah, you can get like 19 to 24 letter words just from adding on, like Ingar Murungunjana is like, I think it's about 19 letters long. So Jana Gabu and then Mimbolan.
Mimborlan.
Mimborlan.
When you see that R after a vowel sound, like the UR sound, it's like the R and the L is the sound that we look for. So it's not a Mimbor, but a Mimborlan. So you curl your tongue up just before the L.
It's a retroflex. So what
Yeah,
you're
that's
doing, you're actually not resting your tongue on the space behind your teeth. You're touching the corner. So it's not it's Mimborlan.
Yeah, Mimborlan.
So just pull your tongue back a bit and you'll have
Yeah.
On what I like to call the mouth roof cliff.
the mouth roof cliff. Even that's hard to say now.
So if you were to ask, where are you from? You can say, Jana Gabu Mimborlan.
Jana Gabu Mimborlan.
Mawajana. And then I would say, because I'm from Broome, I'd say, Rubibi Gabu Ngambolan.
Rubibi Gabu Ngambolan.
Yeah, so can you say Ngambolan?
Namborlan.
A bit in the same way we said Ngayu, it starts with that Nga again.
Ngambolan.
Ngambolan.
Namborlan.
Ngambolan.
Namborlan.
Ngambolan. Like I come from. Oh, sorry, I come. And then Rubibi Gabu is like saying Broome from, because that Gabu suffix. Yeah. So you can say where you're from, if it's from Mirrabooka or somewhere up the road here. You can practice by saying your answer. So if I said Jana Gabu Mimbolan to you, where are you from? You would answer?
America Gabu Ngambolan.
Well, America Gabu Ngambolan, that's it.
Bayswater Gabu Nangbulan.
Great.
That's
and
the
you can-
original Noongar, I believe.
Yes,
That's
Bayswater.
yes, sure. Now, I wanted to just delve a little bit into the structure of this thing. So let's put up some more sentences here and see what we got. Now, we've got a sentence here. I'm going to give this my best shot. Juyuni wali minaluranda riragon. Rirgagun?
Virgagun.
Okay, and that means you cooked the fish on the coals. Now, we got another sentence that's kind of similar. Yayuni wali I can't even read at this angle. Ngaluranda riragon, which means I cooked the fish on the coals. Do you want to do a better job of saying that than I did?
That's it. So, Juyuni wali minaluranda virgagun, and you're right, that's you cooked the fish on the coals.
Yeah.
Ngayoni wali ngana luranda virgagun, I cooked the fish on the coals.
Okay, now we're going to try to figure out, this is a bit of a puzzle here. How can we say this sentence, you cooked the kangaroo on the coals, but we need the word for kangaroo, and it's barjanini.
Mabujano, that was really good. Barjanin.
Well, I am a linguist.
Supposedly. I've seen no definitive proof.
Okay, so now, how would you say this? You cooked the kangaroo on the coals. Now, this is where you have to do a little bit, you have to figure out what maps onto what, right?
So it's Juyuni,
All right, yes.
Juyuni.
And then I'm thinking
What do you think the...
Rirgagun is the
what do you think the
coals.
fish is? What's
So
the
it's
fish?
got to be Mina Luranda. Luranda. It's got to be Luranda, right?
Well, I noticed that two words are the same. One is warli and the other one is rirgagun. One of them has to be a fish and one of them has to be coal, on the coals or something like that. So
True.
take a guess. Which one do you think is the fish?
Warli.
Now, you can't assume that word order is going to be the same as it is in English. Right? It could come at the end. But I'm guessing that warli is the fish.
For some reason, Wali seems far more fishy.
Language is arbitrary, Ben.
You're right. So Warli is fish.
Not so arbitrary now, Midgley.
Actually, Warli is a word that is used for edible meat. So, so it could be used for meat of any animal, but it's the generic term for fish as well. So,
Interesting.
Okay, so lay it on us. How would we say you cooked the kangaroo on the coals?
you would say Juyuni barjanin minaluranda virgagun.
Yeah. Okay.
And so the mina is the U prefix, is that right? Is because that's the thing that changes between the U and the I?
That's saying that you've done that action.
Okay.
And lura is like that cooked or burnt root or whatever you call it.
Yeah, okay.
And then the NDA at the end is saying that it happened. Which
Right.
so
So there you got your
if it was going to happen or it's happening, it changes. So minaluran would be it's happening right now.
Yep.
Minalura, it's going to happen. Minaluranda, it's been done.
Wow.
It's cooked.
That's better than the tense system in our own language. That's way more understandable.
Well, it just goes to show that language really is systematic. No matter what language you're talking about, language behavior is orderly behavior. Languages just sort of sort themselves out. There are a number of strategies, but we see the same things kind of over and over again. The case system that we see is, the same in a lot of languages. It's the same tactics, not the same exact suffixes or anything like that.
Yeah.
The structure.
Yeah.
The structure, or the way the structure can be organised, is similar.
Thanks for walking us through that.
Thank you for having a go. That was
Blew
great.
my mind. Okay, so I guess last question. What do you think is the future for Yawuru? What do you see happening?
It looks bright, actually. I'm really optimistic. It's I wasn't like that a few years ago because we won our native title, which allowed for us to now have a language centre called Mabu Yarunganga. And there's so many people working very hard in our community to revitalise our language, and it just feels so good. Our inner spirit we call Lian, and it's feeling fresh again. You see young people, older people proud again to take on their language. Often you'd see that generation above us, like my parents' age, you could see that they missed out on something, that they were longing to have that connection back to their language and their old people. And now that opportunity's there, so it's fantastic. We've got some amazing programs. For instance, a program which is a total immersion program where there's like 20 what we call language hunters that are learning language from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock every day. They just are paid to go and learn language. And then they're going to disperse into the community, whether it's their own households or schools or within tourist industry, wherever. And then our language will hopefully grow strong again.
Well, we are pulling for you, and I think it's a wonderful work that you do. Thanks for doing it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's give a big hand to our guest, Dalisa Pigram. Don't want to stop, but we're going to move it along. We have a bit of a track. This one's Emily Waramara singing in her native Anantiliaqua. This is Ngera Bera Karnama on RTR FM 92.1. Hey, we've really had a great time. We do have time for like 1 or 2 questions, either for Dahlia or for us. Anybody got anything?
We've got bulk questions. How do we do this? It's like picking a favourite child.
Thank you. How many Aboriginal languages are there in Australia?
There is an estimate of 250 odd before colonisation, and about 150 of those are dead. There's about 70 that are living, and about 70 that are. I know that there's 20 that are strongish, and like ours, a lot that are endangered of dying. But there's a handful that are the weaker ones are coming up again because of these revitalisation efforts within communities, which is quite strong across the country at the moment. This state too.
Good. Thanks.
Got one there.
Yeah, hi. I was just wondering how humour works in the Yawuru language. Because I know certain languages use wordplay, specifically like Japanese, for example, uses a lot of wordplay. I was wondering how humour works in the Yawuru.
Can I just quickly say,
sure.
What an amazing question. Please.
I guess in our culture, humour is a big part of our culture. For instance, in ceremony, there's someone that keeps light of the event that's happening. So they're called a bit like the Joker, and they make everyone feel, comfortable. And if there's any tension in the community, that's quickly, because you have to have clear lian, clear spirit to have ceremony go on. So when it comes to language, I guess it's a similar thing. When I teach in a school setting, it's a little bit unnatural, if you like, because you're teaching a theme, big book and keywords and all of this stuff. But often something funny will happen and the kids are the first one, they lose it because you've made reference to, I say something to, you got barn in your jaw, like you got ants in your pants or something, and everyone loses it because, that kind of thing. So you just, humour is just part of the everyday thing. But there's nothing specific I can think of like you would probably be able to do with the Japanese. That off the top of my head, sorry.
We got one more.
I just love the idea that there's essentially like a comedian working the crowd in get-togethers, just being like, all right, ladies and gentlemen, let's all take it easy.
You found your match. Huh?
Dalia, you mentioned that your elder who taught you the language has now passed on. Are there other elders who are still fluent in the language who can help revive your language and help you along?
She was the most generous. It's hard to explain, but yes, there are maybe two, maybe one actually. We lost, in that spate, we've lost 2 full-speaking Yawuru elders in the last 4 years, and the handful that were left, they were 2, so there's probably only one that I know of that's left. She's a little less generous because family get, how do you say it, have bad experience with sharing things, and she's done a lot of effort in the early days with Gome Hosokawa, a Japanese linguist who passed through and made a thesis of our language and all his. Thank goodness he did it, because it's like, a bit like a Bible for us to go to. And yeah, that's sort of the reality of it. It's a terrible, sad thing, but we go to the recordings we have. We're lucky in that sense. We've got lots of elders speaking language on recordings, but physically alive today, there's probably one left full speaker.
Really critical for your language and I guess for every other language.
Yes, and it's important that young ones like us, don't give up the fight and just keep plugging away, even if we think we're not going to get there. Just keep going.
It's something we've discussed before: community, and then underlying support of society as well.
We wish you lots of success in your efforts. Let's thank our speaker one last time, Dalisa Pigram. And thank you for coming to this live edition of Talk the Talk. We'd like to thank the Disrupted Festival for having us. We hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks very much, everybody. Well, that's where I was.
Yeah, it all happened. It was wonderful. Thank you so much, Dalia, for helping us out with the show. She did an amazing job.
Wasn't there just a great feeling in the room? That's what I came up with.
Yeah. And I'm not sure how many people were regular Talk the Talk listeners or just pop into this theatre. What's happening?
A few people came up to us and said, you guys, I know you guys are listening to you all the time, which is great. We're so grateful to all our listeners, but also we hope we made some new friends.
It'd be a brilliant way to go.
And you were so nervous.
I was. I wore my special shoes, my rainbow shoes, to cheer me up and give me bravery, and I think it worked a bit.
Very good. Well, now I hope that we can do more live stuff. What have we got? We've got some live things coming up in the future.
We've got looking at Camp Dukes. I know Camp Dukes is up to something or other, so people are going to have to check out the campdukes.com site, I believe it is, or just Google Camp Dukes and see what's going on there.
Yeah. I think that what we do translates kind of well live, actually.
Yeah. When in doubt, Ben just brings it.
Do you know what, also? I just thought it was really, really nice to hear some encouragement, because minority languages have it tough. I mean, it's really hard to bring a language back from the brink. Like if a language is dormant and it comes back, it's often changed forever. It won't be quite the same as it ever was before, and that's okay because language changes. But it's really hard to revitalize a language, and I'm just so glad to hear some good news from the brave people who are doing the teaching and who keep trying different things and who are making it work.
Yeah, and the communities are helping integrate it. I mean, a whole school, and then it's having an impact beyond there. So it's a wonderful thing to hear.
It takes a community.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I mentioned in a later session, Why Language Matters, and this was with Dalisa Pigram and the novelist Kim Scott and wordsmith David Astle, was that we start seeing a lot of things when a language comes back. We start seeing better health outcomes, like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, suicide.
Yeah.
These things drop when languages get official support and when people are speaking them. And I guess it's just that people know when they're being discriminated against.
Yeah, it's funny that, but yeah, it's such a vital part of who we are and our identity. So yeah,
language and identity really does come into it.
I'd love to hear what other people think about it. Don't forget, you can always get in contact with us on RTRFM. You can hop onto our Facebook page for Talk the Talk. You can tweet us if you want, or you can always email us. What's the email address for Talk the Talk?
talkthetalk@rtrfm.com.au. We'd like to thank the State Library of WA for hosting the Disrupted Festival. There were so many great speakers and great ideas. We hope that you'll keep listening, because Mark Neal is going to be taking us out to lunch pretty soon, listening to all the latest and greatest new music. As always, thanks so much for listening, and thanks, Kylie.
Thank you.
And until next time, keep talking.
This has been an RTRFM podcast. RTRFM is an independent community radio station that relies on listeners for financial support. You can subscribe online at rtrfm.com.au/subscribe.
Our theme song is by R Trees, and you can check out their music on rtrees.com and everywhere good music is sold.
We're on Twitter at TalkRTR. Send us an email, talkthetalk@rtrfm.com.au. And if you'd like to get lots of extra linguistic goodies, then like us on Facebook or check out our Patreon page. You can always find out whatever we're up to by heading to talkthetalkpodcast.com.